There are cemeteries, and then there are cemeteries. This is South Park Street Cemetery. It's not for the faint of heart. Not sure why. Think it has the gigantic banyan trees with their leg-like roots, strangling the tombs, or the moss growing on top of the gravestones like green hair. And that's just the calm side of this cemetery. When the ghosts come out, it's not pretty. Welcome to my channel. Today we're taking you on a tour of the most haunted places in the world, starting with the South Park Street Cemetery in Enter, if you dare, past the rusted iron gates and crumbling moss-covered walls. They joked around, took selfies near the tombs, and even made fun of the dead. But things changed that evening. One girl, Priya, fainted near an old grave. The man looked frail, but happy, like he was posing for a picture. There was another figure in the photograph, a woman in a white Victorian nightgown holding a parasol. Locals say the old man was Captain James Grant, an officer of the East India Company. He had died in 1830, heartbroken after losing his wife Eleanor. Legend says the cemetery is haunted by three main ghosts: Captain Grant, Eleanor, and Sir Williams. They set up cameras, microphones, and motion sensors around the oldest and most active graves, including those of Captain Grant and Eleanor, Sir William Jones, and a young girl named Isabella. One of the investigators, Aaron Damsill, later recounted what happened that night. But there are strict rules: no shouting, no joking, and no selfies near the graves, because if you disrespect the dead here, they might follow you home. He said, quote, "We saw the movement of a ghost near the tomb of Isabella. We couldn't see the face, but it was definitely the shadow of a human form. But they aren't the friendliest ghosts. Caretakers say they're territorial, and if you stay too long, you won't be able to leave." In 2010, the cemetery was in desperate need of maintenance. The tombs were crumbling, the pathways were blocked, and the entire place looked like a jungle. So Father Sebastian and his team entered the cemetery. They cleaned the graves, the pathways, and even blessed each one of them. They didn't mind the stares of the ghosts. They completed the task and left. But that same evening, they came back. Father Sebastian collapsed he died of a heart attack right beside a gravestone. The irony, it was the surname of a priest. Nobody knows why he died, but the locals say Father Sebastian wasn't meant to be there. He wasn't supposed to clean the graves or bless the cemetery. No one has the authority to do that, and now he's paying the price. He was buried next to her, but rumors say their bodies were exhumed later. The woman in the white gown is Eleanor. She's seen with other men too, especially young men who have come to study in college. They say she appears to warn them against falling in love. Otherwise, they might die young and be buried beside her. She was standing close to the old man, smiling at the camera. He died in 1794, but his legacy lives on through the curse of his tomb. The story goes like this: visitors who walk near his tomb often complain of sudden nausea, headaches, and in some cases, even blackouts. Once, a young boy playing near the tomb fainted. He woke up hours later, shivering and muttering in a strange language. Another time, a couple visiting the cemetery for research purposes sat beside the tomb for hours, copying old inscriptions. When they stood up, both of them had scratches on their hands and a strange numbness had spread across their body. Since then, no one dares sit beside Sir William Jones's tomb. But there was no one there when Sundor took the picture. He stood up, surprised. He went back to the cemetery, hoping to find the couple. But when he reached the same spot, the temperature suddenly dropped. He took another picture. It was blurry, but it showed the same woman standing beside the old man. He clicked several more photos, but there was no one there. He heard a loud cough behind him, but when he turned, he was completely alone. Without thinking twice, Somnath walked up to him and introduced himself. The old man smiled, posed for a few photographs, and then slowly walked into the cemetery. Somnath felt bad. He knew the cemetery was off limits, so he left. But that evening, when he was sorting through his photos, he found one he hadn't taken at the old man. The image was blurred, but it was clear enough to see that the old man was standing beside a headstone. He was completely alone. Her friends carried her outside, thinking it was just the heat, but she didn't wake up for 2 days. When she finally did, she spoke in an unfamiliar British accent, quoting lines from an old soldier's journal. Her voice was deeper. Her eyes were blank. Her parents had to take her to a priest. The air inside is still. Time feels slower here. The kind of day when every street looks beautiful. The sky perfectly blue, the breeze soft and warm, and the mango trees heavy with fruit. A professional photographer named Sumantra Roy decided to spend the day shooting random people around the city. Later, he could decide what to do with the pictures, maybe an exhibition, maybe an online portfolio. He never thought one picture would change his life. Gigantic banyan trees cast long, skeletal shadows over the Gothic tombs, and the only sounds are whispers carried by the wind. It's hard to believe that this cemetery was once a bustling part of Kolkata's social life, where aristocrats held parties, strolled hand in hand, and gossiped near the tombs of their loved ones. Today, the silence is deafening. If you ignore it long enough, it starts to feel heavy, like it's pressing down on your shoulders. You start hearing footsteps behind you, even when you're alone. And when you turn around, there's nothing but the empty shade of a tree. It is the oldest graveyard in the city, built in 1767 for the British colonists. At its peak, It was the final resting place of the most powerful men in India. Today, nobody knows how many people lie beneath the 22 acres of this cemetery. There are thousands of graves, maybe even tens of thousands, but nobody knows. The records were lost long ago, which means there's no way of knowing the history of any particular tomb. Locals say that whoever enters this cemetery without prior permission or with bad intentions is cursed forever. They also say that the cemetery is more than haunted, it's cursed. Imagine this, you're walking between the tombs, enjoying the quiet, the tall trees, the soft grass, when suddenly your phone vibrates. You pull it out to see a new message. It's from an unknown number. Do you know how many people have died here? Imagine driving along a lonely road, the windows roll down, the wind blowing through your hair. When suddenly someone appears beside you, you slam on the brakes, roll up the window, and continue on your way. You shake off the shock and try to forget what you saw until you reach home. And when you do, you find flowers and soil from the side of the road stuck to your car. That's the story of the phantom hitchhiker. And it's exactly what happened to Dr. Munn. She was driving home late one night, when suddenly she saw a young man standing by the roadside, thumb extended like a hitchhiker. He looked normal enough, so Dr. Bizes took him in. As soon as he got in though, she noticed something strange. His skin was cold. Then he started speaking in an old-timey British accent, asking her to stop at the South Park Street Cemetery. Dr. Bisa was weirded out, but she agreed. The moment she stopped, the man rushed out, thanked her, and disappeared inside the cemetery. When she went in herself, she found flowers and mud stuck to her car. She also learned that the ghost hitchhikers had died in a carriage accident years ago. The message reads, followed by a series of laughing emojis, then another message, have fun while you can, and then another, I am now inside the cemetery. Naturally, you'd be freaked out, but even worse, you'd be worried for your friends because they'd sent you these messages from within the cemetery. Well, if that's your biggest fear, you can relax. This hasn't happened to anyone ever, but the stories don't end there. The locals also talk of a phantom hitchhiker. But what happens if you stay too long? One day in 2010, a group of college students entered the cemetery for a photo project. Then there's the story of the photographer. It was a regular day in Kolkata. It happened around 3 p.m. He was near the South Park Street Cemetery when he saw a man in his 70s standing by the roadside. That's not all. It wasn't a one-off experience. Other visitors have seen the couple too, always near the same tomb. Who were they? And then there's the most feared grave of them all. Sir William Jones, a respected British judge. Even caretakers refuse to enter the cemetery after sunset. They talk of faint footsteps, voices calling their names, and eyes watching them from the dark. In 2014, a team of paranormal investigators entered the cemetery to gather evidence of the ghost, but perhaps the scariest story of all is that of Father Sebastian, a Catholic priest. Today, the cemetery is a protected heritage site. It's open to the public from Tuesday to Sunday between 7:30 a.m. and 4 p.m. Now watch. Most haunted places in the world. Well, have a look at this.